find your own purpose before it gets replaced by AI. And that's kind of a vague statement, seeing as how like it can mean a bunch of different things. But here's what I mean by that, right? Is the fact one, it ties into our world system, and two, it ties into our world system, and where it's going with AI. So that's just one big concept, really. It's not really two concepts, but um, I guess I'll start this off by saying, and this is going to be very like vague, and a lot like a trust me, bro type of statement, but it's out there. So if you want to kind of look it up and research it and stuff like that, I personally have not seen this video or this piece of content or whatever. I've just heard about it from someone very close to me. And it kind of made me think, voice crack, it kind of made me think about um, where the world is headed, and kind of how a lot of people are feeling and stuff like that. Because number one, this video that I'm talking about is from a former worker of OpenAI, right? So that's the people who run ChatGPT, and he was brought on to the brought onto the company to literally just forecast where AI was going, right? And so he brought in a bunch of different factors. Again, I don't know like the specifics about it, like the statistics, the quantitative, qualitative properties and variables that he looked at, but I just know that this guy was brought on to OpenAI's team to forecast AI and see where it was going to go in the coming years, and it's absolutely shocking, to the point where he was he was given an NDA agreement for $2 million of OpenAI stock, which to me that is like absolutely like for anyone that's absolutely life changing, because number one, you could cash that out and it's $2 million, which is life changing. And then you think about like the forecast of OpenAI as a company, like, and how far they're gonna grow in this AI landscape, because obviously AI isn't going anywhere, right? It's just going to keep growing unless we unplug it, which doesn't make any sense because of how many trillions of dollars have been invested in it. So I don't see that happening at all. But he was basically saying that the whole world system was going to completely collapse and be converted from AI, and jobs as we know it are going to be completely transformed. Not necessarily like taken away, like traditional jobs, like blue collar jobs, or not blue collar, white collar jobs and stuff like that. The typical like cubicle jobs like will no longer exist. Like jobs completely done on the computer. The blue collar like physical labor type stuff is definitely a little longer out, probably about 10 years. But I'd say in the next 5 years, like white collar jobs will be completely wiped out, just in general. And that's because corporations know that they're going to be able to spend way less money on AI to work on their stuff for 24 hours a day instead of 8 hours a day, way more competently and way more efficiently than the average worker, because the average worker statistically only works like 2.5 hours a day, I think, like efficiently. So that's coming, right? And so that makes me think about all the people in the jobs that are, because tying it to the world system, right? We live in a world where your purpose is your job, right? Your purpose is measured by material things, titles, like achievement in that external front, right? So people who become doctors and make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, that's like peak society, right? And that's all going to go away, like genuinely, like in the next 5 to 10 years, that's going to be completely eradicated. So you see things like that, people who derive all, which is a lot of people. Like a lot of people derive their value from material things, like keeping up with the Joneses type beat, and constantly trying to make more and more money, and that's their entire purpose. And they don't really have a purpose really outside of that. And because of that, they're very miserable. You know, like a lot of people are very miserable in that, you know, whether you are a doctor or you're the person, you know, who's doing the busy work, you know, below, like the working man, I guess you could say, like the average working man making 45, you know, 40 grand a year, whatever. Um, and then I'm also a big fan of Jet Franzen. He's a 22-year-old kid on YouTube, has, you know, 250, 300,000 subscribers. And he's made a video about, you know, multiple times about how much life has changed since like 2020. Like he said, like, oh, 2018, 2019, that was the best years of life. And then after 2020, the lockdown and everything, everybody just died. Like Gen Z just died. Like I was literally just watching that video that he just made. And all that got me thinking, like, people really like, and I just want to preface, I don't even like really understand where life is going and you know what true purpose really is, but I can tell you what, it's definitely not what we think it is. Like the whole, you know, go to school, get straight A's, get a good job, get all these material things, that's not purpose, right? Because you're not actually creating anything unique to who you are unless you actually like doing that, which is like 5-10% of people, like statistically. You know, which is a very small, minute number when you actually like put it, when you actually look at it and think about it. So you have, on one hand, the people of the world who their purpose is stuck in material things. Their purpose is stuck in material things, titles, you know, being better than other people. You know, those entitled people because they're like, oh, I followed all the world's rules, so I deserve everything. Like those type of people, right? You know, which are miserable people on the inside. And then you have, you know, the middle class working man just trying to get by, and their purpose is also their job, and they also dislike it, and they also are not reaping the benefits of those upper middle class rich people, right? And then you have people like Jet Franzen who are like, what the is the point of any of this, right? Like none of this makes any sense. Like all the like everything out there nowadays is just like regurgitated, you know, repurposed things from the past, right? And people who don't understand like what to actually do to be unique, you know, because like he knows that the route is not the upper middle class, you know, working man route or whatever, where you work your whole life and get all these material things to try to make yourself happy. But then also how difficult it really is to become successful at being your own creative, right? Um, and in that, you know, trying to be successful and being your own creative, you are stuck in that working man class too. So it's really difficult for a lot of people, and no one has really um, put their head around what purpose really is in this day and age, right? Because we're past the whole American dream. Like I think people are really waking up to that, where they're realizing the American dream is not the way at all. Like it's not purpose. It's not human at all. It's a very, you know, robotic way, performative way to go about life, an empty way to go about life. So that's why I'm making this video, because I, in my personal opinion, and where I'm trying to gear my life, is creating your own purpose, right? Because I think for me personally, in my past, I've been looking for purpose externally, right? And I think that this kind of goes along with self improvement. I mean, this is probably a little bit regurgitated on my part, but it's just kind of something that I'm finding in my own life I'm not on social media a whole lot. I'm not in the whole I don't watch all the self improvement videos or whatever. But what I'm learning about spirituality and, you know, self improvement and fulfillment is that it's all found like internally, right? Nothing is external, right? Like you look at all the successful people and you see a lot of them are say like, oh, I just enjoy doing it and it just happened, right? Or it didn't just happen, but a lot of the successful people, and kind of what I was talking about in my alignment video, is they're not like grinding towards a thing or really trying towards a thing. They're just like living their life and it happened because they enjoy doing it, right? And I feel like a lot of people are lacking that because they're given this purpose, to do certain things, and so they're forced to live externally, right? And that's going to be completely eradicated with AI because 95% of those people are the people who are working a 9 to 5 job, which is going to be gone in the next 5 to 10 years. So my advice is like, hey, dude, like, honestly, who cares about any of that? Like, who cares about all the financial success? Who cares about all the cars? Who cares about all the houses, the material things? Who cares about the titles? Who cares about any of that? Unless that's really you. I think the new currency and the thing that will set people up, myself included, in the future is going to be number one, being authentic, right? So being authentic to who you are and who you've always been. Because if you don't know about that whole 0 to 7 thing, where you kind of are the person that you are, like rooted in the person that you were mainly from when you were 0 to 7. So for me personally, I look at the person that I was when I was 0 to 7. I was a very creative person. I really liked, technology even back then. And I was a very active kid. Like I liked running. And lo and behold, I'm now almost 24 years old and I've had a big past in running specifically. And I still would like to get back into it. Obviously, I made that video the other day about the medical system and how that went and everything. But I still kind of jog every once in a while, right? Because I love it, right? And then I also love creating things. Like I love creating video. I love AI because AI is great. Like because I think that's the misconception about AI is that it's taking away creativity, and I think the opposite of that. I think AI is unlocking creativity because I think a lot of people are interpreting it as, oh, AI is just replacing it, so it's replacing any creative thought. And it's like, if that's how you're using AI, then that's a very poor way to go about it because if you're using it to amplify yourself rather than replace yourself, it's actually a very great creative tool to use, right? So, yeah, I mean, that's for me personally. And 7 to 14, I remember when I was 10 years old, that's when I started making videos on YouTube and everything. So, content creation and everything like that. So, and that's when your theta waves switch to beta waves or whatever. If you know about the whole, like, physiological 0 to 7 thing, I really encourage you to look into that because it'll make sense about kind of the person that you are. It'll kind of help you understand yourself a little bit more. But yeah, I think that's where people should really start going. Is I think people should really start like looking within instead of looking externally because it's easy to make goals externally because that's what you're taught to do. You're programmed to make external goals. You're programmed to like get a good house, get a good job, have a wife, kids, whatever. And I still want those things. I want a nice house, job, everything like that, but it's not about that anymore. It's about finding what makes me happy to get to those things, right? And I think a lot of the most successful and fulfilled people would say the same thing, right? Because all your real power comes within. Like I don't want to get super religious or anything like that. But for me personally, the way that I interpret that one verse in the Bible about like we're made in God's image is it's not necessarily like, oh, we're physically made in God's image or we're or we're like made in His image to serve Him. It's we're made in His image spiritually to be just like Him, right? So I think that we hold a lot of God-like power within us. We just don't know that yet. And I think that that's a part of the awakening, right? Which is like another topic that I would like to talk about in a different video. But I won't go too deep into it here, but I just wanted to bring that up because there's a lot of power within you. So I think given the fact that, so going back to what I said at the beginning of the video, like create your own purpose before AI replaces it. That's what I mean. Because AI is going to replace your job. It's going to replace your need for all those material things and those titles and things. So instead of worrying about all that trivial stuff, start worrying about, okay, who am I really, right? Like, am I a creative person? Am I a relatable person? Am I like, who are you within, right? Focus on that thing and find what you like within that concept, um, and enjoy it, and just live that, right? So for me, it's like I'm really know that I like, running, and I like to be creative, and I like creating content. So that's what I'm doing. Like I'm just embodying and living someone who loves to create content, somebody who likes to create, just create things and invent things and stuff like that. And I think having that type of mindset and not necessarily worrying about the external, things in the world, like I've said multiple times in the video, like 5-10 years down the road, when everybody's life is falling apart because their jobs are potentially, highly potentially going to be gone. Like, again, this is all like based off of that one video of that OpenAI guy, which you can look up, or that source. But potentially when everyone's jobs are gone in 5 or 10 years, you won't be in as bad of a spot, because you're not going to be worried about losing all those external things because you followed the world's game, right? Because all those people who followed the world's game and said, "Oh, I'm gonna get a nice house and do this and get in all these student loans to be a doctor and get a good job," like, they're not gonna know what to do with themselves, because they didn't create their own purpose. The world created it for them. But if you create your own purpose within on what you actually like to do, when all that happens, you're gonna be like in the best place that you can possibly be. So I guess I mean, I feel like this was a pretty organized video. Maybe it was kind of jumbled around. Like, I don't know if any of this makes sense to anyone. Maybe it does. I'm just trying to, spread the word, and try to like enlighten people with trying to, just become authentic and be them, because that's what I'm trying to do. And I think, just looking at the history of people, I think being authentic, and really looking within and saying, this is what I like to do, rather than looking externally, is like literally the best possible thing that you can do for yourself. No matter what, no matter literally what happens in the world, you will be okay if you just focus on, that concept, if you will. So that's kind of my closing thoughts for the video. Find my, I guess, a call to action for you or whatever. I've never done one of these, but a call to action is sit there for a moment, like, whether you're in the shower, whether you just sit down on your couch, on your bed, whatever. Find a place to just think for a second, and just think who you truly are at your core, and start from the beginning, like when you were a kid and everything. Like, who were you when you were 5, 6, 7 years old? Who were you when you were like 10, 11, 12, 14 years old, right? When you were in those, like, beta theta waves developing, because more than likely that's the type of person that, when you indulge in those type of activities, is going to fulfill you the most, because that's your core, that's where your subconscious lies, right? Unless you reprogram it, which is something completely different and super hard to do, right? But yeah, that's my closing thoughts. Find that thing and start to embody it, start to live it, start to think it, everything, right? I think that will suit you the absolute best. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and enjoy this video, whatever. Yeah, so see ya.